This video is going to be on notation of the Rubik's Cube to learn how to perform algorithms. If you have not seen part 1 of this tutorial, then please click right here and it will be a link to bring you to part 1 so you can see exactly what we're going to be doing throughout this tutorial. Now on with the tutorial. For example, if I were to tell you to, on a Rubik's Cube, to do the algorithm RU, R prime, UR, U2, R prime, that is what notation is, and see that just did some rotations of corners there. Well, that is pretty much what notation is. It'll teach you what to move, when to move it. Okay, so on with learning the notation. Okay, so this will be called the U face, the side I'm turning on. It is the top layer of the cube, and it stands for up. And the opposite of up is down. So this will be called the D face, because down starts with D, because it is the direction of down. This side that I'm turning right here will be called the R face, because it is on the right side. This will then just be the left face, and it will be L, because left and L. This will be called the F face. F stands for front face. And you really don't need to know this for the method I'm teaching you, but this back face, yes, if you guessed, it's B for back. Now when you're reading an algorithm, it will probably be 50-50 in between a normal capital letter and a capital letter with an apostrophe next to it. And when you read an algorithm out, those apostrophes are set as primes or inverted. So if I were to show you this, it would be said out loud as R prime D prime R D. Now what the prime means is a counterclockwise rotation. So if I were to say U and then F prime, this is what I mean. Pretend as if you are facing the face that you are turning. So when I say U, F prime, a clockwise rotation of the U face, and then a counterclockwise rotation of the front face, like that. Okay, so that would, now to reverse that, obviously, it would be F U prime, because I just did a clockwise front face rotation and a counterclockwise U face rotation. Okay, now time for a few examples. Okay, let's do that example I gave you earlier. If you forgot it, it will be right here. Okay, so it was R prime D prime R D. So it would go like this. Pretend as if you are facing the right face. Okay, so it would be R prime for an R face counterclockwise. Then D prime, pretend as if you're facing the down face. D prime counterclockwise. Then pretend as if you're facing the right face again. R clockwise rotation there. D clockwise rotation there. Here's another example. We'll do this algorithm. It'll be right here. Okay, so it says R U R prime U R U2 R prime. Okay, so what that means is you do an R turn, pretend as if you were facing this right face here. So that was a clockwise rotation. Then a U turn, a clockwise rotation on the top. Now, it said R prime, so that means a counterclockwise rotation. So turn this counterclockwise. And then it's another U, so a clockwise rotation. And then another R, so pretend as if you're facing this face, clockwise rotation. And it says U2. What that means is turn the top face twice. So 1, 2. Okay. Now then it says R prime. So a counterclockwise rotation of this. So really, all you need to know about notation is however you are holding the cube, as if you were holding it here, this would become the U face, this would become the F face, that would be the R face, left face, and down face, which would really be U, R, L, F, D. Or if you were holding it in this position, that's the U face, F, and so on, and so forth. Now, I don't want to confuse you with too much notation all at once, but this is very important later in the video series. If you ever see a lowercase letter, that does not mean, like if I were to say little u, that does not mean this anymore. It means this face and the middle slice with it. So this would be little u. And then this would be little l. The whole L face and the next slice over. And same, it would be little r prime, little d prime. And you may ask, wait, why don't you just, for little d prime, why don't you just do a u prime? And the answer to that is, so everything doesn't get very awkward. See, if in this algorithm that I'm going to teach you, it goes like this, and then that. But if you turn the right face like that, you would be having to do B turns, and that's very uncomfortable to actually perform. And it's also very nice, because later when you're speed solving, you can be faster instead of having to reach to different parts of the cube. So here's the crash course for notation. U, U prime, R, R prime, L, L prime, F, F prime, D, D prime. If you still don't understand notation, try looking at this picture. It really helped me learn notation too. Okay, so if you ever find yourself lost later in this video series, then you can always just come back and watch this tutorial. So, okay, now that you know notation, you can move on to part 3 by clicking right here. And in that part, I will teach you how to get the green cross, which would be like the green cross right here. Green cross. As I showed you in the first tutorial series part of this set of series, the first step was to get the cross. Now I know it's very easy to get very discouraged while trying to learn to solve Rubik's Cube, but don't get discouraged, okay? You can do this. Solving a Rubik's Cube really is not that hard. If you do get discouraged and you can't seem to do something, just come back the next day and watch the same video. Your brain's trying to comprehend too much at the same exact time. So, with a fresh start, you probably will be able to learn how to do it. And if not, take a couple days off and then come back and watch the same series. Now, always remember, have a great day.